The Crooked Epic, 1, Inn, 1, The Inn of Maniacal Madness, 8, Alex, The Boat, 8B, 4. After searching around the area of his campsite for 10 minutes, he had enough wood to start a fire and laid the smaller tinder sticks and leaves into a small pile, assembled the stakes into an upward-pointing cone from smaller to larger ones. He lit the match to set the fire and sat back against a tree trunk, pulling out the blanket from inside his pillowcase. He had eaten all his wet crackers within 15 minutes and drank an entire canteen. He pulled out his soup can and readied it on the side of the fire to heat up atop a rock. While waiting for the soup can to warm up near the fire, Alex pulled out his letters and wrote his 6th. When he was finished writing, he had to go relieve himself. So he walked out of his campsite area 20 or so yards until he could only see the flickers of light through the branches and bushes of the surrounding woods. Returning to the campfire, he saw the sparks from the fire growing more irate and more erratic, and the light was brighter than before he had left. He walked closer and watched fire leaping around the fire pit and growing and exhausting itself spontaneously and without cause. As far as he knew, he had set up a regular fireplace for himself, but the fire was beginning to rage uncontrollably. Alex ran up to grab his blanket before the fire could torch it, and as he came closer to the campfire, it bulged out into a fireball stretching as high as the trees. It shot out limbs of flame, spitting firewalls against the trees and near Alex. Alex fell back against a tree trunk and hit his head as flames blew around him, scorching his clothes. He covered his face and hair and tumbled away from the campfire, running far into the woods before stopping to look back. He could not see anything coming after him, so he sat down and waited. An hour went by before Alex was able to fall asleep finally. Only 5 hours later, he was already awakened by the sound of somebody moving through the bushes around him. The sun was coming up, shining brightly through the green forest leaves, and it had annihilated any of the shadows Alex had used as camouflage and protection the previous night. So Alex limped onto his feet instinctively. The leaves of bushes were ruffling and shaking, and the noise was coming closer. Alex spun around and saw a strange-looking tree or plant behind him. He had slept directly beneath an alien species of wooden plant, which was 10 feet tall and had 5 leaf-shaped petioles protruding from a trunk-like base. The laminas were convex, and they had wooden veins extending through the midrib. He was confused and dazed by its presence, and a feeling of euphoric dystopia flowed into his thoughts as his stomach became woozy. Abruptly, Alex heard and recognized the eerie voices of laughter behind him from the bush. He turned around and saw Ted's friend Darren Lynch and Barry Reeves standing in the roughage, bleeding profusely from their eyes and noses. They began reaching their arms for Alex, who quickly stumbled away from them, scampering deeper into the woods through green foliage and brown branches and fringing yellow dying leaves. Alex was struck with extreme terror. He was propelled by his instinct for survival. As he continued through the brush, his terror transformed into necessity, and he ran as fast as he could for as long as possible. He was headed away from the sea's shoreline. Though entirely disoriented, he kept moving further from the campsite and water as the 2 ghoulish people slowly followed behind, giggling fiendishly. Alex began to recover from his feeling of nausea as he continued. Unsure of how far he was going, he jogged for 3 miles up a slow inclining hill. The whole time he remembered his father's teachings about long-distance running. Go slow and breathe inward through your nose, outward through your mouth. Focus on the 2 yards of ground ahead of you. Keep your arms lowered to your waist. It did not matter how fast he was going, only that he kept up momentum to escape his followers. When he concluded his run at the edge of another cliff which overlooked a river hundreds of feet high, he turned around. He saw bushes moving in the woods and averred that they were still coming for him. Alex pulled out the Colt finally and pointed it through the woods at the bushes as the 2 hostile and maddeningly obsessed predators emerged. In fear, he dropped the gun to the ground as his arm twitched. Quickly, he recovered it, lowering himself to one knee. He pulled the trigger as Barry came first, and the single shot ripped apart the man's cheek and ear. As Barry fell, Alex felt small relief, but his instincts quickly kicked back and he kept running. Darren grotesquely chuckled as he scurried back away, and Alex lost sight in the undergrowth of the wilderness.